I will go straight to welcome you to this program. We are here today not just to celebrate the 2021 Petroleum Day, but to also honor one of our own, Mr. Austin Avoro, who is a veteran in our industry and the founding managing director of Platform Petroleum. Platform Petroleum Limited was incorporated in 2001. That means the company is 20 years old. A round of applause for that. For the sustenance of the business and the rising of new breeds in the industry, this man we are honoring today has contributed so much, and he deserves our commendation. I would like us to give him a round of applause again because I'm so glad for his contribution to this industry. I don't know if Nigeria has marked it before, but today we have set aside 27th of August to celebrate this maiden edition, and hopefully we'll continue to project this particular special resource that God has endowed this country with. Since the commercial discovery of petroleum in discovered petroleum in Ilobri in 1956, Nigeria and Nigerians have been blessed tremendously by the usage and procedures and the process of petroleum commercialization. In other words, the Nigerian story cannot be complete without the mentioning of petroleum, which makes up 90% of foreign earnings and revenue for the country. Beyond our country and continent, petroleum dates back to August 27, 1858, when it was discovered by Edwin Drake in Titusville, Pennsylvania, and the launching of the modern-day petroleum industry in the United States. The discovery of crude oil made the region become prosperous, and hence, it became a day to celebrate. We all agree that petroleum has brought prosperity to nations, including our oil-rich Nigeria. Petroleum has also remained a critical and major component in the global energy mix for over a century. The discourse on energy security and sustainability is a topical one, especially with the clamor for transition to cleaner energy source. This clamor will possibly see a gradual reduction of petroleum resources in that mix until the alternative becomes affordable and also available. To avoid the undesirable occurrence of a resource curse, the host government provides the legal, fiscal, and legislative framework for the optimal management, operation, and commercialization of the reserves and resources. Nigeria is no exception, as we have a litany of laws, regulations, and guidelines for operating in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. However, the initiative by the authors and contributors to put together this publication, Laws on Oil and Gas Exploration and Production, is indeed a great one, providing a compendium of topical essays and a handy reference, not just for law practitioners, but for all professionals in the oil and gas business. Platform Petroleum Limited is thus very delighted to be associated with this publication. Platform hence decided to sponsor this presentation event. Platform is an indigenous company with a mission to build and sustain the foremost indigenous petroleum industry, company through time-tested principles, best practices, and efficient resources management. In the long term, we are on our journey to be the leading indigenous oil and gas company in Nigeria. Platform is a well-known operator of the Egboma Marginal Field in Omel 38. That field was formerly known as Umutu Asokpu Field, and the farmer was SPDC. We are an efficient operator with over 15 years of continuous experience in the oil and gas field development, crude oil production, processing and marketing, as well as gas production, processing, handling and marketing, and delivering gas to the Nigerian domestic market. Our near-term aspirations include attractive farm-ins, acquisitions, divestments, and other commercial arrangements for the development of prolific onshore assets. As an enterprise built on social responsibility, Platform has ongoing developmental strides and visible impact in her host communities and right-of-way communities as well. Through several legacy projects and numerous human capacity programs, Platform Petroleum, with her joint venture partner, Nucros Petroleum Limited. Please, I want to specially recognize the presence of Nucros Petroleum Limited, who has been a very special JV partner, who has made it very easy for Platform to actually manage that field efficiently. A round of applause for our partner. So Platform will continue to develop the Umutu community. We have 4 host communities where this marginal field is located. The Umutu community, the Adonishaka community, Obozo community, Akukuno community, Umuezogoli, Umu Osele host communities. These are several small communities which form the 4 major communities where Platform operates. We also have right-of-way communities where our product is exported through. The corporate social responsibility we have extended to these communities in recent times has led to the development of that area from obscurity to a point where any person traversing through the Abo Obiaraku Road will know that, yes, there is a company in existence here. So Platform has been involved in such legacy projects, development of the community where we operate, and that has given us a peaceful and conducive environment to operate. Beyond that, Platform extends its legacy project, its corporate social responsibility project, beyond our area of operation. We extend into the impacted communities, and some few years ago, we extended it to University of Nigeria and Nsukka, where Platform Petroleum, in his corporate social responsibility, built and donated a building, Austin Avoro's building, to the Department of Geology in honor of Austin Avoro, who is an alumnus of the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. Mr. Austin Avoro is indeed worthy of celebration and is central to the Platform story, which continues to become more interesting by the day. The success of Seplat, one of Nigeria's biggest independent and oil and gas company, is another glaring example of the accomplishments of Mr. Austin Avoro. He was also the founding MD and chief executive of that company and Platform Petroleum, and he has not tired. He has retired recently from Seplat Petroleum, which has become Seplat Energy PLC. And I'm sure that Seplat members are here. Can you also give them a round of applause for recognizing? So he has retired from Seplat, but is not tired. Now that he has more time and given more attention to Platform Petroleum, no one should be surprised when another Seplat is bettered in the near future. The oil and gas industry is inundated by several developments in recent times. Some are regional and others are global. Energy transition has become a buzzword. The Petroleum Industry Act has dominated the national discourse for weeks. It has just been recently passed, and we are all aware of several protests, welcome, and disapproval. But we thank God that that bill has come into existence after several years of being in the process. The Petroleum Act and the energy transition, which seems to direct away the petroleum as a major energy source for powering nations, has become a major topical issue. But in spite of that, like the MC has said, if you look around here, you will see that there is nothing you can do without petroleum for now. So the projection that we will do without petroleum may be something that will take time to come to realization. Platform sees some of these issues as challenge, but in the midst of challenge, it is when you overcome challenges that you record achievements. Therefore, Platform, in its view, sees these major issues as opportunity for us to grow bigger and excel in our business endeavor. The PIA provision have largely considered the sustainability of growing players like Platform Petroleum, handing out a more friendly fiscal system and taking a bold step to legislate the founding of host communities. We also want to thank all of you and those that are watching the program live. This program is going live in various channels. We want to also thank you for your time, for leaving so many things you are doing to honor and grace this occasion. We say thank you for joining us to mark this 2021 Petroleum Day celebration. Thank you and God bless.
Be invited to review the book Oil and Gas Exploration and Production in Nigeria, a text in honor of Mr. Austin Avuru, edited by Dr. Mike, and a major contributor to the development of oil and gas in Nigeria, as described by the foreword writer, a distinguished jurist, Honorable Justice Shima Nweze, a justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. I congratulate the author for his steadfastness and sustained interest in ensuring that this unique piece of work is completed, and for not allowing the burden of chasing several contributors to meet the numerous deadlines, editorial work, and publications to weary his body and mind. The book, Oil and Gas Exploration and Production in Nigeria, a text in honor of Austin Avuru, is a compendium of writing by legal scholars and oil and gas practitioners, a very unique contribution to the existing body of literature on oil and gas law. The book is about 1,103 pages and contains 41 chapters, covering 8 themes, touching the broad topics of oil and gas law from cradle to dust. More importantly and evidently from the book, it touches the conceptual issues of sources and importance of oil and gas to the Nigerian economy, to complex issues of allocation and acquisition of ownership rights in oil and gas, licensing regime for oil and gas exploitation and exploration, taxation aspect of oil and gas, environmental and compensation obligations, including the recurring issue of human rights and access to justice, local content and community issues, as well as international legal interventions from both the point of permanent sovereignty over resources over oil and gas resources, control of oil market by OPEC, and international regulation of environmental degradation arising from oil and gas exploitation and exploration. Beyond the technical subject covered in this book, one of the most outstanding and striking aspects of this book is the use of simple and free-flowing English language to express and transmit ideas, thoughts, and legal principles. This lucid and captivating style of writing, to the analysis and synthesis of convention, agreement, and international arbitral decisions, statutes, and case law adopted by the various contributors, clearly demonstrate the outstanding qualities, maturity, depth, and scholarship of the various contributors, and the editorial resilience and the acumen of the author. The chapter is 41 chapters. I cannot go through it because of time, but I will want to touch on one or two areas. Let me begin from chapter 1. Chapter 1 serves as an introduction to the content of the book, which comprises 8 parts with a single theme running through each part. In this chapter, the author gives a brief background of how the world came to accept oil as a major power source, and how this development has played and continues to play a major role in Nigerian economy. They further emphasize the need to have effective laws governing the exploitation of petroleum to ensure that the strategic objectives in the exploration and production of petroleum are achieved. I move to the final chapter, which is on chapter 41. Chapter 41 deals with Chapter 41, which is the concluding chapter. The author examines the role of concession and joint venture agreements in international oil contracts, and identify how the existence of traditional concession failed to develop a balanced, beneficial relationship between the contracting parties. Hence, the introduction of joint venture agreement to address the issues that may have arisen from the traditional concession. In summary, the book has provided good insight on matters arising from performing activities in oil and gas in Nigeria. One of the chapters also provides information on oil exploration in the Gulf of Guinea, which I particularly found interesting, as it discussed the opportunities which the above country could gain from tapping into its oil resources, and provide useful and incisive advice if the opportunity becomes a reality. While noting the positive aspect of the content of the book, it will be beneficial for future editors to mention some areas that will require further improvement in order to improve the quality of this book. I must say that when this book was written, the present PIB has not been passed. For future editorial work, some of the innovations introduced by the PIB will find its way into the contents of the book. Again, I also, as part of, find some chapter 2 descriptive, while some others have a repetitions of topic earlier discussed in these chapters. While noting the fact that there are different authors, it is important to also take into account the reader's perspective to ensure that they are not overwhelmed with the same information. It will also be helpful for future editorial work for some of the chapters to be merged in order to make the work more focused. On the whole and the balance, I recommend the book to every practitioner in the oil and gas industry, to students, the practitioners, the policy maker, and it is, in my own opinion, a useful contribution to the existing body of literature on oil and gas in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
So the big question for all of us, when we talk of the rest of us, is why, despite being a great praying nation of Muslims and Christians that know God exists, why has the dividends of the treasureless gift of some of the greatest people on earth, with some of the best and most
prolific natural resources in the land, especially gas, elude us. And I'm asking Chief Lulu here, my brother, why has this been the case? So does the Petroleum Industry Act now demonstrate that God exists because it has brought or will bring us progress, abundance, good life, pursuit of freedoms, and peace? Because at the end of the day, this is what lawmaking is about. Or is it that the act is proof that the rest of us were not doing the right thing before now? So, Chief Austin, you've been in the industry, have you been doing the wrong thing from your days on the other side to when you started making a lot of money like my brother here, Chief Lulu? Or is it that we did not make hay while the sun was shining, deferring till evening what the morning should have accomplished? Now, when I was younger, before gray hair replaced my dark beard, I heard of grand designs of this petroleum industry bill. At that time, the narrative was that Nigeria needed to revamp its petroleum laws to produce a comprehensive and much better efficient regulatory framework for the oil and gas industry to ensure that our host communities are better catered for, to promote investments in the industry, to stop the epileptic nature of funding by government of its responsibilities, and making sure that petrodollars that come make life more abundant for all of us. That was when I was a young man, when I didn't have any gray hair. Today, I'm much older. Now with more gray than dark. Thank God for COVID, you wouldn't see that. It is only that we are not able to pass this law. I don't know how many presidents after, Obasanjo, Yaradua, Jonathan, 4 presidents after, 20 years. So the question is, am I wiser? Are you wiser? Are you better off? And what is it that you think this law would do for the rest of us? My question to all of us, does this law deal with the issues of today and the challenges of tomorrow? Does this law consider that markets, with due respect to the acting MD of Platform and Mr. Suji, do we know that the markets are proceeding with alacrity of the escaping downfall driver? Has anyone seen a downfall driver being arrested by policemen? His deafness. This is how the market is proceeding, avoiding everything in its way. Or have you seen the dexterity of the Okada driver that is also trying to escape the policeman who wants something from him? Again, this is the new approach that the market is taking to climate change, to the young people, the digital natives, what they call bits and more. And so when you speak to young people, to them, Mr. Animos, Anim said, fossil fuels is important. For them, it's important for one thing, not for what he thinks it is important for. They think it's important for what they do, bitcoins and cryptocurrency, because that thing consumes power like no man's business. And the question is this the kind of thing that the PIA is looking at? Does the PIA begin to peep into the questions of climate change the way it should? Does it begin to peep into some of the major problems that surround our natural resources? Does it peep into our politics? Does it peep into the fact that the nature of our government, the centrality of things in Abuja, have to do with money from this resource? Does it peep into the fact that a lot of our governors go to Abuja every month with a begging bowl? Does it peep into the inefficiencies and mediocrity that has characterized the industry for quite some time? And these are important questions to ask ourselves. Does it peep into the reality that today in England, they say they're looking more into hydrogen, produced not from oil and gas, but by some other process. And that all power used at home in the next 20 years will be from hydrogen. And none of these things that we have. Has this law considered that 6, 7, 8 days ago in California, a lab came up with nuclear fusion that will produce so much energy that all these energy sources will be relevant and will produce energy in such a form that the thing that consumes energy most today, planes, would fly in that way. So these are some of the things that when we think of the rest of us, we must ask, what is it that has been done? So listening to Professor Ajakai, it's no doubt that this book has come at the right time, and thank you, Brother Austin, for lending your name to it, because our economy is at the crossroads. Our economy is expected to grow out of the impact of pandemic this year. That's what they tell us. But what is our reality? Our reality is high inflation, tight foreign exchange liquidity, devaluation, social dislocation, economic disadvantage, security challenges, bad governance by them in Abuja, and corruption by all of us, mediocrity by all of us, complacency and greed by the rest of us about the things that they do in government about our unhappy state. Because you see, at the end of the day, the PIA is meaningless if it has no impact on the rest of us. And the rest of us are all of us, apart from those that sat down and designed this law and the man that sat behind the table and signed it. The rest of us are those governors that have said, hey, come on, why would you pass a law that says the land from where this thing comes, the people around there will get 5%. But then people who are 6,000 miles away, if you like, will get 3% to research to do this. And then you begin to ask, so for the rest of us, is it just? Is it just because in Nigeria, as I mentioned, where there's natural resource everywhere? Interesting thing is that some of the resources of tomorrow, lithium and uranium and stuff like that, are in abundance in these areas that are now being funded by people who are being deprived of what they really should get. So, question this law and the rest of us, given the number of years that it took to pass it, given how easy it is to amend the Constitution, could they have used as an opportunity to look at the problems of federalism that we have? And so these are the things that I think, when we think of the rest of us, we must be careful when we begin to slap ourselves on the back, as the President of the National Assembly does, that yeah, look, they couldn't do it before, I have done it. Is it too little too late? Have they provided a solution of yesterday for the problem of day before yesterday to the problems of today and those to come tomorrow? And these are the things I'd like us to ask ourselves when you think of the rest of us. Look at the law. They've been talking of IJV, JV, no IJV, restructuring NPC forever. So when you look at the law, what are they? Okay, 200 and something pages or 300 pages, strip it down. And you begin to ask yourself, does it address your future as a person? Does it affect your future as a citizen of a state? Does it affect your future as a resident of a state? Does it affect your future as a citizen of this country? And so those are very, very important questions. Does this law do anything that will make sure that Africa, that Nigeria, has one of the best per capita income in the world, because it did in the 60s. And I'll come to that very soon. Whether this law is going to help with the terrible low unemployment that we have, and how. Biden says, for instance, that with his own approach to climate change and stepping back a bit from fossil fuels, he'll be creating not just massive employment, but jobs of the future. And so what is it that the law has done for us in terms of the millions? I mean, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, about 50% of us are unemployed. That's a lot of people. And you have a law that could have been passed that could have ensured that loads and loads of these people will be employed. Is this law going to do anything about our pride as a nation and about our dignity as individuals? And when I say dignity as individuals, what do I mean? Well, I guess nearly everybody here, because we're all resplendent and, have roses in front of us and so on and so forth, are people of dignity. So when we talk of dignity, we generally would tend to think of the people that have been disadvantaged in society. The rest of us that are unemployed, unemployable, out of work, no money, and so on, and have to go about begging. But how many of us do not beg? You're going to a meeting and a policeman stops you, has no reason, just give me custom receipt for the car that you're driving that is 10 years old. And he wants it now. And you have a meeting. You say, I beg now, make I go. So at the end of the day, it affects the dignity of all of us. And I'm sure some would say, well, you're talking about Petroleum Industry Act. Why are you talking about all these other things? I'm talking about all these other things because that law and the resource on which it's based is responsible for us sitting here today. The money we are spending is from that resource. Our pride, apart from our people and our importance, is because of that resource. And because of the market that it creates, and because of the potential that it has. Yes, there's still a lot to be done in terms of fossil fuels. But then what can be done beyond that in terms of energy and this law that has just been passed? As I said, the law must be a catalyst. And reminds me of my days as an athlete. It must be something that puts us in the position to do, to hop, to step, and to jump. It must enable us to hop over those things that have not allowed creative energy of our youth to come out. Can you imagine the number of young men that are imported from abroad, that are doing work that people that just from the secondary school or vocational centers can handle in the oil and gas industry? Organizers, welders, and so on. And all of those guys are imported from India, from Philippines, and so on and so forth. Now you can imagine if you had a policy in this law that brought back vocational education and targeted at our oil and gas industry. Because you see, we need to be strategic. That law and the rest of us should have looked at what is our situation and what could have been done to catalyze that. Instead of building a marine university in Rivers State, or a maritime university in Rivers State, another maritime university in Katsina, as our president decided to do, and our minister, Why won't they look at vocational training, which is not long, and which will train thousands and thousands of our youth, who will then work on the streets and work better, but get to work in the industry, be paid US dollars, and actually now become exports of skills to other countries. The way they come from Philippines here, our own workers, our own people will now go to Angola and America and India and so on to earn foreign exchange, and in a manner that gives us pride, not because we've run away as economic migrants or political refugees. The law, as I said, is hope to let the creative energy of our youth come out so we can beneficiate vocational section of the oil and gas industry. Let us step into data economy that looks at Bitcoin mining. And I would share statistics on the kind of energy that Bitcoin generates. And you know, Nigeria is the fourth largest user of Bitcoins in the world today. And to think that, you know, Mr. Aburu has not already started producing power for Bitcoin, I don't know why. I know Chief Lulu has already, because anytime he smells money, he catches it. He hasn't told you, he has one, he's mining Bitcoins already. It then must allow us to jump into the future. If we jump into the future, falling out of those things we see especially in the Niger Delta. Poverty, small-mindedness, host community hostility, area boy mentality, and the parasitic claims of government. We must jump away from those things. And again, you ask yourself, and I speak as a lawyer now, you look at some judgments of our courts. In other countries, they use laws to correct injustice in society, to correct errors made by judges because they say themselves they are human beings. And you read some judgments against oil companies. You ask yourself, one, yeah, oil company was negligent, but whose responsibility is it to take care of community? Is it the oil company who is paying its taxes, or government to whom the tax has been paid? First question. Second question is that, look, even if you say, company, I'm doing corporate social responsibility, and I have breached it, there's been a spillage. When I spill something as Cadbury, I spilled the chemical, what damages does the court award against me? And when I spill as an oil company, what damages does the court award against me? And there are principles of law that regulate these things. But what you begin to find is some terrible artificial unreality to the kind of judgments that are coming out of our courts against oil companies. And if we do not address it, it's not about foreign investors. It's about the local investors. It's about the local investors saying, well, I have 1 million naira. I can put it in oil and gas because I will make 10. Or I can put it in MTN where I will make 15. So he has his choice. But if he then decides, because of my people, I will put it here. But government is so hostile. They take my 10 by way of taxes, charges, levies, and all kinds of problems that they put on businesses. It's a big disincentive. Does the PIA deal with that? So when it comes to the question of the PIA and the rest of us, these are things that I think we need to begin to look at. Let me round up, because I know we are running out of time. And I will send my paper to the organizers. They can share with people who may want to have a look at it. What is clear is that the PIA has come, right? Better late than never. However, we must now make hay and stabilize the fortunes of the nation. It is now time that we take advantage in the few years that we have left Because the question is, as a businessman or as a business people, how well will we leverage what we have to increase our return as a people, to ensure that the benefit for the rest of us comes to all of us. We have to make sure that, imperfect though the law may be, we do two things. We now begin to interrogate ourselves on some of those questions that I have asked, and some of those questions that you have asked. And to the extent that we're in a democracy, we make attempt to correct those things. Now, pending when those things are corrected, those laws will be implemented by human beings like you and me. And it is for us to ensure that we insist that the law is interpreted in a manner that makes sense and fulfills the function of law, which is order, peace, and good governance. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's taken 20 years, 4 presidents, I don't know, 9 sessions of the National Assembly to pass the Petroleum Industry Bill into an act. And expectedly, all Nigerians on the day it was signed into law had thought that the El Dorado has arrived. All our problems are hereby solved. And Professor Jai is asking, after 60 years of the oil and gas industry, some $400 billion of earnings, why have the dividends of this great resource eluded us for 60 years? And then instructively, probably no more than 20 years to the end of the glorious regime of oil and gas, we pass an act that has taken 20 years to pass and expect that it will solve all our problems. At a time the world is transiting from fossil fuels, at a time the markets are in a hurry to write the obituary of fossil fuels and go into other things, even though we geologists, we don't believe, we know that fossil fuels will be here for another 30 to 40 years. We know. Their contribution in the energy basket may diminish from 82% as it is today to 30% in 2050, but those contributions will still be valid 30 years to come. I can tell you this as a geologist, as an oil and gas person. However, 30 years from now is half of the 60 years during which we have exploited this resource and earned so much. And therefore, Professor Jai is managing our expectations. The real things that have derailed our economy and have put us where we are. Issues of poor governance across board, from local government to the federal level. Mediocrity that has been entrenched. Our ability as a nation to expect the dregs as our best. The ease with which we accept mediocrity and celebrate it. How will these core ills that brought us to where we are, these are the core ills that enabled us to squander $400 billion. What he did not say, that is there in his lecture, between the derivation proceeds, the proceeds to NDDC, and funds spent by oil and gas companies in the communities in Niger Delta since 2001, if you put them all together, is in excess of $40 billion. That's more than what the Arabs spent to transform Dubai from a rural, unknown place into what it is today. And yet, what do we see in the Niger Delta? So if we don't address those ills and you think that the PIA is the solution, Professor Ajayi has managed your expectations. Do not expect too much. That's the summary of what he has told us today. So according to him, this law has finally come. But if he does not address all the ills that he has mentioned, and even in particular, this law will have to be interpreted in courts. And the level of judicial hostility we have seen towards this industry, arbitrary awards, if the interpretation and implementation of this law falls in line with what we have seen, we'll be chasing not foreign investments, local investments out of our own land, even with the law that we think is the solution to our problems. So, I will join Professor Okoye Ajayi in managing your expectations. If we do not change as a nation, this law will be just as good as we have been for 60 years. Not much will come out of it. Unfortunately, that is the message. And that is my summary of what Professor Okoye Ajayi has said today. So, at other times, you can pick the PIA and study it from a legal point of view. But today, that is the message that we have to go away with, which means let us address the bigger issues of this nation. Otherwise, PIA or no PIA, we will go nowhere. Let me now turn to the second part of my assignment. I've just finished the assignment as Professor Fabian Ajogu. So now I need to speak briefly as the honoree at this event. Let me start by saying that Platform Petroleum has been, I don't know what to say, exceedingly? Yes, exceedingly generous to me. And I don't know why they do it, but they always do it. I am not the first person to have been a founding managing director of a company. But every time Platform makes it look like I performed well, he said, what God cannot do does not exist. So Platform spent $750,000 to build a brand new Department of Geology, University of Nigeria, where I graduated from, and named it the Austin Avuru Geology Department. I mean, fully equipped, you know, lecturers, offices, lecture halls, and all. Now, why am I referring to this? We have managed today to steal the glamour from those who deserve the glamour for today's event. 43 university lecturers, 43 members of the academia compiled what will be unveiled as a more than 1,000-page book on laws of oil and gas exploration and production in Nigeria. And yet all we're talking about is Austin Avuru did this, Austin Avuru did that. This event is the launching of a body of legal work put together by 43 young lecturers. For the benefit of the academia and the legal profession in Nigeria. But how did I come into it? I decided, because I liked what they were putting together, to sponsor it. So I sponsored the book. That's all I did. Just made some financial contribution so that the book can be brought to life. And Platform stood, as usual, solidly behind me to then sponsor everything that came out of the book, including this event here today. So we have been celebrating Platform Petroleum and Austin Avuru, just because both of us, both Platform Petroleum and Austin Avuru, wrote the checks. But I'm saying, please, let us turn our attention to the 43 great authors that put together this book. You will see them when the book is finally unveiled. So my last word is to say, as usual, thank you very much, Platform Petroleum, for all the honor that you bestow on me almost every day and every time. And thank you to all my friends across the industry and all my bosses that have come here. And as you live here, when you were coming here, you were coming to honor me. As you live here, please know that you came to honor these 43 lecturers that wrote this book. And when the book is unveiled by our chief presenter, who is the chairman of Platform Petroleum, I implore all of you to support us in launching the book so that these lecturers will have the ammunition to do the additional editing and the reviews of the book that the reviewer pointed out, especially now with the passage of the PIA. There are some other aspects of the book that will have to be corrected. They need resources to do so. Let us provide them with those resources when we launch the book today. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you very much indeed.
May not go away except human beings are ready to make focused decisions. And the price of our failure is usually the loss of thousands of innocent lives. I would like to add that our lives must be like the course of the sun, and that even the darkest moments must bear the promise of daylight. So, let all of us agree that we are responsible for the state of affairs that we find ourselves today. And that our inactions, when viewed in the backward glance of history, will stand as eternal monuments against us if we do not do much. The PIB, now the PIA, would not solve all of our problems, but you and I, working together very consciously, would solve our problems. Thank you. And having said that, let me very quickly add that I do not know why Austin would always choose to be very humble and say that he doesn't know why Platform would celebrate him the way we've done. I would say that Platform is only playing catch-up, frankly, because the industry celebrates Austin Avuru. And the things we have done and the things we shall do, I believe, will never be enough to say thank you to the very wonderful contributions that Austin has made, not just to Platform, but to the oil and gas industry. It is with great pleasure, that I am here today thanking God that I'm a part of this epoch event. The first time Nigeria is joining the league of other oil-producing countries in the world to mark the National Petroleum Day. And I'm particularly pleased that the initiative is coming from Platform Petroleum Limited, a company where I am privileged to serve on the board. And also, quite importantly, is the decision of the management of Platform to use this opportunity to honor our very own, my own friend, my brother, Mr. Austin Avuru, who has indeed contributed immensely to the development of the oil and gas industry with the launch of a book on the laws of the oil and gas exploration and production in Nigeria. This book is a collection of topical essays, as I'm told. I have not had the opportunity of going through the entire book, but I've read just a few chapters. Topical essays by some erudite law scholars. I didn't have the courage to practice, law nor to teach law, even though I'm a lawyer. So I must thank those of you, like Professor Ajayi, who are in practice and have done so much for the legal profession, and also all of these scholars who have taken the pains to put this, book together. And by the grace of God, through this effort and what we are doing today, the country will get to know you and celebrate you. And of course, your reward will not just be in heaven, but will also be here on earth. The feeling I get is nostalgic when I remember how far I have come with my very good friend, Austin Aburu. Well, I got introduced to the oil and gas industry. It was a very wonderful baptism that I got. I had no knowledge of the industry at all in 1998 when I was brought in as general manager of Moniplo, Petroleum Development Limited. And then I was trying to understand what to do with the high office that had been given. I was only equipped with a Master of Laws degree from the London School of Economics. No idea, nothing at all about the petroleum industry. And here I was, general manager of an indigenous E&P company. And then someone said to me that there's a company called Professional Support. And that if I got to know them, they'll be able, to put me through a lot of the things that I needed to know to be able to navigate the very murky waters of the oil and gas industry. And so I went in search of the minds at the Professional Support. And then I met my good friend, Mr. Austin Avuru. 3 months of what Austin put me through, I was able to challenge our partners to have a better working condition, to have a better deal for us, the indigenous company that was supposed to be the operator of the field, but which through some technical services agreement and all that were put in place, were somewhat, passed on operatorship of the field to our technical partners. And Austin Avuru saw me through all of that and then introduced me to the oil and gas industry. And when in 1999, our good friend, Senator David Brigidi, late, may his gentle soul rest in peace, became Senate Committee Chairman upstream, he called me and said, senior, he was also a lawyer. I'm now in your industry and I would need you to support me. I said, no, there's nothing that I can offer you. I will bring to you somebody who knows the A to Z of the oil and gas industry. And so I went with Mr. Austin Avuru and we met with Senator David Brigidi. And by the time we were through, David Brigidi truly understood that yes, there was indeed someone who can call the A to Z of the oil and gas industry. And of course, that's Mr. Avuru. And something happened. Because he was driven to several places in the just 1 hour that he spent with Mr. Avuru. Before leaving, he said, by the way, are you gentlemen not going to take advantage of this marginal field bid round? We said, no, well, we have not thought about it. He said, with so much potential, you have to do something about it. And so as we left there, we went straight to the Corporate Affairs Commission, put a few things together, and set up Platform Petroleum. And that was where my job ended. I didn't know much. Once we set it up, of course, we gave Platform Petroleum to the master, Austin Aburu. And today, where we are, yet Mr. Aburu would ask, why do you people celebrate me so much? I think it's obvious to you now why we have not celebrated you enough. Well, this is a wonderful piece that we have, and we will have to thank Professor Gwizi and everybody else that have put this piece together. And there's something that this attempts to do, putting together all the laws that we have in the oil and gas industry, especially in the exploration and the production of the oil and gas, in one wonderful piece. The PIA, of course, the PIB had not been passed into law at the time, so not much of the PIA would you find in it. And I'm sure that, as reviews and all that is done as we go on, even that, will be taken care of. But there's something that this will do for us. I give us a very short story that someone sent to my WhatsApp some 2 or so years ago. And I just, I don't know what I was looking for, and I saw it again yesterday, and I said, oh, this must be very appropriate for what we're trying to do today. It's that 19th century legend has it that the truth and the lie met. And the lie said to the truth that the day is so beautiful, it's so marvelous. The truth, of course, sighed, but then looked to the skies and saw that indeed it was a beautiful day. And so they spent some time together. They spent some time. They spent quite some time together, finally arriving beside a well. And again, the lie said to the truth, look at the well, look at the water in the well, it's so nice. The truth again was suspicious. And he looked to the well, felt the water, and indeed, the water was very nice. And then the lie suggested to the truth that they take a bath in the water in the well together. So they agreed, they got undressed and got into the well. Soon after, the lie came out of the well, wore the clothes of the truth, and took off. The truth came out of the well and chased after the lie, to no avail. The world, seeing that the truth was naked, got very angry at the truth. And of course, the truth got back into the well and disappeared. And since then, the lie went all over the world in the clothes of the truth. So, the world does not want to confront the naked truth. This book This book tells us that we shall no longer suffer under the weight of our contradictions, and that some scholars, persons in the academia, have put this together, and they are going to ensure that we no longer claim to be ignorant. With that, I would like to invite my co-presenter to please come on the stage so that we can unveil this book and present it. My co-presenter, the Executive Director of ICA Folawiyo Group of Companies, please let me invite you to join me here. And of course, Honoree, Mr. Austin Aburu, please. Mr. Wurola Abiola, please join us. To Mr. Austin Aburu, I always claim I'm the one, but he says he's the one. So he has to come and join us here today. I know he's still here. Spencer, please join us here.
So we unveil the book, our chief presenter, and of course, all the dignitaries is invited to unveil the book, Laws on Oil and Gas Exploration. And there we go on 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. And there you have it. Get full copies of the book now for a photo ops on stage. Up to you, chief presenter, sir. Is there any other thing you want to say? Is up to you. Oh, you want? Okay. Service.
Therefore, as chairman of Platform, with the permission of the board and the management of Platform, we want to launch this book with a token 15 million naira. So I would like to, on behalf of myself and my family and my friends, also get 10 copies of this book to report some of 2 million naira. And
so the book is open for launch now. You've been told by Mr. Avuro that it is going to, proceed is going to the 43 lecturers who put the book together. So we are accepting donations from everyone now, even those who were on stage with us. If you want to make donations, lunch will be served now. So please, if our caterers can hear me, you can start serving lunch while the book launch is launching is going on. Lunch is served. Can we one more time appreciate the chairman of Platform Petroleum, the Austin Avuro Foundation,